Hello everyone, welcome to our channel, Comments and TJ Responses. I hope you are all doing well. In this video, we're going to prepare for the book study, Complete Testimony, for the week of November 11th to 17th. This week, we'll be studying Chapter 18, paragraphs 1 to 5, along with comments from the boxes. So, let's get started. Questions 1 to 3, Part A. Why was Paul indignant in Athens? Paul was indignant in Athens because he saw that the city was full of idols and statues of false gods on every corner. He knew that the true God, Jehovah, rejects idolatry, worship of idols, and this upset him greatly because he wanted people to worship the true God. Additional comments. In Exodus 20. 4-5, God makes it clear that we should not make or worship images of things in heaven, on earth, or in the sea because he is a jealous God who desires pure and exclusive worship. Paul understood this very well, and upon seeing so many idols in Athens, he felt distressed, knowing that people were offending God by worshipping man-made images. Paul loved Jehovah and knew that he hates idolatry. This is why his reaction in Athens was that of someone who deeply loves God and feels sorrow at seeing so many people worshipping false gods. It was as if Paul was witnessing a great number of people being misled, missing the opportunity to know the true God. Questions 1 to 3, Part B. What will Paul's example teach us? Paul's example will teach us how to talk about our faith respectfully and convincingly, even when we're in a place or with people who think very differently. We'll learn to find common ground with others so we can reason with them and help them understand more about God. Additional comments. Paul shows us that it's important to remain calm and patient, even when people hold ideas that contradict our beliefs. Instead of arguing or getting upset, Paul tried to speak to them respectfully and logically, something essential for others to listen and consider God's message. Paul's example also teaches us to find common ground with people, as he did by observing that the Athenians already had an altar to the unknown God. This gave him the opportunity to explain who that true God was. In this way, Paul connected with them on a level where they could understand and feel interested. Questions 4 and 5. Where did Paul preach in Athens, and why wouldn't it be easy to preach in the marketplace? Paul preached in two places in Athens, in the synagogue, where the Jews were, and in the marketplace, also known as the Agora. The latter was the center of life in Athens. It was where people gathered to trade, discuss important topics, and spend time, especially intellectuals and philosophers. Additional comments. It wouldn't be easy to preach in the marketplace because it was a place full of people who worshipped other gods and were deeply embedded in their culture and beliefs. The Athenians highly valued debate and philosophical ideas, making people harder to convince. In Acts 17:17, we see that Paul preached both in the synagogue and in the marketplace. The synagogue was a place where people were familiar with God's law, so it may have been easier to start there. But in the marketplace, he was surrounded by people with different beliefs and philosophies, making it harder to preach there since many people weren't interested in the God of the Bible. Box, Athens, cultural capital of antiquity. Comments. Athens was a very important city in antiquity, especially in the district of Attica. From ancient times, the famous Acropolis existed, a fortress on top of a hill that protected the city. The city became known and respected in part because it had beautiful temples and buildings dedicated to its gods, like the Parthenon, a great temple with an impressive statue of the goddess Athena. A leader named Solon, in the 6th century BCE, made many improvements in Athens that helped the poor and established a fairer form of government, known as democracy. However, this democracy wasn't for everyone, as only free citizens could participate, and most people in Athens were slaves, so they had no rights. After winning the war against the Persians, Athens became very powerful and extended its trade routes by sea. This allowed Athens to trade with far-off places like Italy, Sicily, Cyprus, and Syria. Thanks to this trade, Athens became a cultural center where the arts, theater, philosophy, and science flourished. Although Athens was conquered by several powers, like Sparta, Macedonia, and finally Rome, by the time of the Apostle Paul, it was still a very recognized city. Even though it was no longer as powerful, Athens retained its prestige and was considered an important academic center where wealthy families sent their children to study. Box, the Epicureans and the Stoics. Comments. The Epicureans believed that although gods existed, they didn't care about people or get involved in their lives. Therefore, they thought it was pointless to pray to them or make sacrifices. For them, the most important thing in life was to enjoy and seek pleasure, but without excess. They believed that knowledge was useful for freeing oneself from the fears caused by religious beliefs and didn't follow strict moral principles, although they preferred not to overindulge to avoid problems. The Stoics, on the other hand, had a very different view. They believed that God wasn't a person but rather a kind of force or energy that existed throughout the universe, including in the human soul. Some Stoics thought that, eventually, the soul would disappear along with the universe, while others believed the soul would reunite with that force. All Stoics thought that true happiness came from living in harmony with nature and accepting things as they are. Well, these have been the practical answers for this week's congregation book study. I hope they are very helpful to you, my dear brothers and sisters. Sending you a big hug, and may Jehovah bless and protect you always.